And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 25. And for today's show, we go to beautiful St. Louis, Missouri, where Illinois Wesleyan 6'8 senior guard Nick Roper is home for the holidays. Rope, it's great to finally have you on. Does it feel good to be like off and away from hoops for just a couple days here? Talk to me about like what this little time off period feels like for you.
Just finished up classes, so it is nice to have a little bit of time off. Back in St. Louis, relaxing a little bit. Still trying to get in the gym, make sure I don't lose my touch, anything like that. But yeah, it's nice to have a couple days off.
Holiday plans, I know this is going to go quick because you guys travel to Texas, the 26th, but what are you looking forward to in terms of the holidays here? I know it's a special time of year and you're getting to be with family for a couple days, but what are you most looking forward to?
A lot of relaxing. My brothers are back in town from Chicago, so I get to spend a little time with them. Gonna visit the grandparents Christmas Eve. But yeah, just relaxing, letting my body get a little break.
Yeah, you guys have been going at it hard. When you think about when practice started, you have those early practices nowadays that I think are September, and then you get like October 15th, you're full speed ahead. You start your games, what was that, like November 8th or 9th, whatever. And you guys go at it hard all the way through the holidays. I appreciate you making time for this. I reached out to you it was like a couple weeks ago. And in my world, Rope, like I don't think about classes. I just think about, I go to work every day, then I watch the Titans. And I'm like reaching out to you during this stretch of all these games and finals is upcoming. And you're like, hey, I just maybe need a little bit of time here. I think I was pushing you during a very busy time, Rope. Talk to me about the QCast scheduling department trying to get at you at a bad time there.
Yeah, that was probably the worst week you could have texted me. Just right in the middle of finals week, but that's all right. We got through it. It was a good semester, and I'm happy I can be on now.
Talk to me about your studies. So like what do you have a declared major? I hope you do, you're a senior. What is your major? I should more ask. What That was more of a question for a freshman or sophomore. What is your major? What are you looking to do down the road? Do we know?
I'm a finance major. Not exactly sure what I'm going to get into. Some financial analyst type job. But luckily I still have a little bit of time before I have to choose an exact job title.
I think you have plenty of time. Believe me. Look, I'm 53. You got nothing but time, Ro. You're just fine. Let's talk a little bit here about where we're sitting. The Titans are rated number 9 in the country. You're 9-1. You're 2-1 in the league, coming off a really big win, which we'll talk about in just a second. But how you feeling in terms of where your team is at the break right now, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I feel great. We're 9-1. Obviously, I wish we didn't drop that one to Carthage. That was a tough loss, but I mean, I feel like we're in a good spot. Our team is really starting to click together. And I think it's going to be a special season, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's really kind of cool to watch it unfold when you start to see games like the Platteville game and the Calu game and the WashU game. You start to see what could be, and it is a pretty special group. Let's talk about that WashU game because that was about as well as you guys can play. I guess the Platteville game and the WashU game would be the ones we would stand up and say like, wow. Um, Heading into that game, you had played them last year. You had played well down in St. Louis, obviously, but like they're really good. Like they're very similar to us in that they play like a bunch of dudes. They're all elite. They're all like D2 caliber guys. Coming into the game, what was your thoughts on facing WashU again and kind of what that game meant?
Yeah, there are some games that are big in the season. There are some games that are really big in the season, and that felt like one of those really, really important games. Obviously, they're the number two in the team in the country, but also it's one of the premier D3 rivalries in the country. So that game carried a lot of weight. And they're a very, very physical team with two preseason All-Americans. Um, but yeah, I thought we really battled. We played really well, and I have a feeling that we might see them again this year.
It's happened many times, Nick.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, like it's probably going to happen, and it could be like round two. I mean, that's the way it works. That game, I thought the start was such a key to it. I was messaging with some guys on the side about an hour before the game, and a comment I made was, if you see Mason Funk hit a couple shots early, that would be really good news for the Titans. And Mason hit a few shots. He hit three threes, I think, in the first 6, 7 minutes of the game. What was that start like, especially kind of led by what Mason did early?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. I think he had four threes in the first half, which is just, I mean, a massive boost to our team. You know, we have five, six, seven guys out who play that can score 15, 20 points any given night. I mean, you saw that on Thursday. But I mean, how Mason played and how Josh played, our underclassmen, it was really huge. And definitely helped us get that win.
Yeah, it's a great point, in that we're a very senior heavy team, but in the probably the biggest game of the year to date, we were led by a sophomore and a freshman. So we talked about Mason Funk. This Fridman kid is coming on. Nick, talk about this little point guard that we've got starting in the lineup, because this kid is all over the place all of a sudden.
He's something special. He's a little bulldog out on the court. He scores it, he distributes it, he defends really, really well. I mean, he really does everything out there for on the court for us. And he's going to be a really special player, that's for sure.
There was a big moment in the game at Chicago, and that was a game where you guys had to battle back from a huge hole, and you did, and you kind of, I don't want to say you ever got control of it. You were up like a basket, for a stretch. And there was a stretch of time there. I think maybe we were up two or something, where I think you kicked it out to him. He made a three that was like from right in front of our bench, I want to say. That was huge. Are you starting to get, and there was also a period at the WashU game. I think you had a little drive, kick it to him. He makes a three from like the right wing in front of our bench. Are you getting comfortable that this freshman Josh Fridman is a guy that should be taking big shots, because he's made a few already?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of trust in him. I have a lot of trust in everybody that's out on the court to make a big shot when it's their time. But yeah, Josh especially, I have a lot of confidence in him. And I think he's just going to keep getting better and better, which is the great thing.
Continuing to talk about depth a little bit, we mentioned Mason Funk. I want to talk about Hakim Williams just a little bit, because I thought last year that you could have made a real easy case that maybe Hakim was the most valuable player in our 14-2 conference championship team. We could have had like three or four guys we could have made a case for. This year, he can have a game where he scores like 5 points, and he might be the most valuable player in the win. He was incredible. I know Hayden Doyle ended up scoring a bunch of points, but I thought he made it so difficult. Like, Hayden Doyle had to work really hard to get everything. Talk a little bit about kind of Hakim's role on this team, and what he does, especially like defensively.
He's one of those guys who can go out and score 15, 20 points, but also he is, I think, the best defender in Division Three. We like to call him the sheriff on the team because he's locking people up. But yeah, his floor game, I mean, he does everything. He rebounds, he gets assists, he defends. He's definitely a vital part of the team. Yeah.
Another guy is your St. Louis compadre Harrison Wilmson. Such a unique dude in Division 3. He is 6'10", 240, just a physical specimen. And I give Harry a lot of credit, because he plays kind of within a role right now. Harry and Marko, these complementary parts, very different from each other, that split 40 minutes. Thought Harry had a really good game against WashU. He knocked down a three early, which was huge. I think getting us from 2 to 5 was him hitting a three. And he just played really well on both ends of the floor. Talk about kind of coming into this with Harrison several years ago, and where his game has evolved to?
Yeah, I committed I think in April my freshman year, and he followed up a couple weeks after that. It's been great going through these 4 years with him. But yeah, Thursday he's been playing really well. He's been shooting the heck out of the ball, and I mean doing everything else on the court for us. He's rebounding well, scoring. It's great to have that just huge presence out in the court. He can really help change a game.
Another guy I just mentioned is Marko Anderson, and boy, is he a special player, and that he's not a starter. He comes in and he basically plays starter minutes. To me, him and Harry kind of split the time almost evenly. And Marco is such a great rebounder, and he's such a great offensive rebounder. There was that play, I know the one, you know the one I'm talking about, where someone Mason Funk misses a shot, Marco gets an offensive rebound, he reloads it. Someone else misses a shot, he gets himself in position to like back tap it to you, and you like shovel it to Trey, and Trey hits like a 28 footer.
Yeah.
Talk about like Marco Anderson and what he does for you guys, Nick.
I don't know how he does it. He is truly the best rebounder I've ever seen on a basketball court. It's unbelievable how he uses his body to get positioning. Um, it's it's amazing to watch. He is a rebounding savant, as we like to call him. It's something special. Yeah.
You've got a weapon off the bench in fellow senior Trey Bazell. Trey's playing really well lately. Comes in and gives you guys an immediate guy that you have to guard. You cannot leave him. He's a great shooter. Talk about like the season that Trey is having, and the role he plays on the team.
Yeah, every time it comes in and he shoots a shot, I know I shouldn't do this, but I expect the ball to go in, which is probably not great. But I mean, he's just a straight shooter. He's improved drastically on defense. He can really guard now. And yeah, he's a great weapon to have off the bench.
One other guy just to ask about, I could ask about all these guys, but I think Jackson Nego is really playing a key role for you and had a good game against WashU. He was starting early. Then and now Josh Fridman's the starting point, but guard Jackson comes in, knocks down some shots. Such a elite, like floor general type point guard that can also knock down shots and score. Talk a little bit about Jackson.
Yeah, he's in a tough position with having to battle with Josh, but I feel like he's done a great job, keeping his confidence up. And yeah, he played great on Thursday, gave us some huge minutes, made some huge shots. I can think of a transition three that he made
Yeah,
that was just massive. Yeah, but um, yeah, we have a lot of confidence in Jackson, and I hope he continues to play well. Yep.
want to kind of go backwards in time here, because when you were getting recruited, it was that crazy COVID year. That was your senior year in high school. Was the year that a lot of people didn't play basketball, and it was a weird time to be recruiting kids and a weird time to get recruited. What was it like getting recruited that season with everything that was kind of going on in the world?
Yeah. Yeah. COVID made a whole mess of the whole recruiting process. I was talking to multiple D2s and a few D1s. I went to a couple of their games, saw the campuses and stuff like that, and I felt like coaches were looking more for 22 or 23-year-olds that they get out of the transfer portal or that were sticking around than an 18-year-old fresh out of high school. Um, So that was tough. And then I went to an Illinois Wesleyan game in a packed Shirk Center, and that kind of just shattered my whole perspective on the differences between divisions. Um, it really felt like I could be a part of something special at Illinois Wesleyan. And after seeing a huge game in the Shirk Center, it drove me to choose Illinois Wesleyan.
Yeah, it was. I remember that season. I remember hearing your name and how much of a priority recruit you were. And I remember asking around, like, so who else is on this Roper kid? He's like, I'm not really sure. I think some D2s and D1s, but I remember them knowing how big a deal you were. Um, at the end of the day, like was it a D2 you picked between Illinois Wesleyan and some D2, or like who was in there at the very end?
You know, COVID just made such a mess of it. I wasn't sure if I was going to play basketball. I wasn't sure if I was going to go to a bigger school and focus on my finance degree. I wasn't sure if I was going to go try to play baseball. It was kind of just a last minute decision. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to stick out this basketball thing. Illinois Wesleyan seems like a great fit. Let's do it.
What was your baseball position?
I was a 6'8" lefty pitcher.
I was gonna say I don't want to get in the box rope facing that. That's Randy Johnson-esque. Did you could you throw some heat, or like were you kind of like a 6'8" crafty dude throwing a bunch of sliders and stuff, or what were you throwing?
Yeah, more crafty. I was topping probably mid 80s. Had a nice curveball. I snuck a knuckleball in there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, by the time you released that thing, I think you were like 50 feet away from the batter. So I would not want to get in that box. um, you've got you have a Texas trip coming up. So you guys fly out what, the 26th, is that correct? So when do you have to be back to like campus?
Um, I am flying out of St. Louis. All the St. Louis
Okay,
guys are.
cool.
But most of the guys are meeting up at Midway, the morning of the 26th.
So we got a Midway delegation, we got a St. Louis delegation. Sounds like we're flying to Love Field in Dallas. Is that correct? Love Field?
Yep.
And then you get some practice time. You got these games down in Belton, and these are good teams, Nick. Like these are really good teams. Laterno, you play Sunday at 2. You have Mary Hardin Baylor. You played them and lost to them last year. You got them Monday at 4. So really an interesting time, right? You're off for a few days. You fly to Texas. You drive down to Belton, and boom, you have these two really good teams. How do you approach those two games down there after a little bit of a layoff?
Yeah, it's tough not having a traditional practice week. So we're just gonna need to trust the guys, trust that we're keeping a ball in our hands. We'll get together the 26th and 27th, have a little walkthrough, and hope we're ready to go. But
Yeah,
we will be. I'm not worried.
we're going to be really good games. Their facility down there at Mary Hardin Baylor it's incredible. I mean, there's not many gyms that you get to go in throughout the year where you're like, hey, that might be better than the Shirk Center, and that's one of them. It is incredible down there. Wanted to ask you about your sophomore year, that tough injury. That was game 6. It was November 30th. You were just starting to, I feel like, turn the corner and figure it out. You'd had some good games, and you were on like the right wing, kind of going in to dunk it, and just landed wrong. Right? I feel it. Was it just like a severe sprain? I feel like you didn't break it. Was that a sprain?
It was a severe high ankle sprain. There's four major ligaments that are around the ankle, and I tore three of them.
Oh,
I couldn't walk for 5, 6 weeks. It was a long, long recovery process. I wasn't back on a court until that injury happened in November. I was on a court until probably May.
all right.
Um, yeah, it was a tough recovery process. Yeah.
And that really did spill into last year, because when last year started, you hadn't really played much. I think practices were not even full for a long time. I feel like when you got on the court, what was that like? After not playing basketball in a game and kind of slowly getting into practice. When we teed it up last year, I guess that would have been was that like the that wasn't the yeshiva year. That was these years all run together. It was at the SICMA. That was like the Mary Hardin Baylor Ohio Wesleyan season, right? So what was it like getting into the mix after being out so much?
Yeah, it was tough. I think the first game was our Illinois State exhibition.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it felt foreign being out on the court again for the first time in 10 months. The pace of the game just felt crazy fast. It was definitely a recovery period. And I probably didn't feel comfortable until the new year of my junior season. Yeah, yeah.
And it looked like that. You could tell that you were trying to find your way back to it. That's a long time to not be playing. And then, boy, at the end of last year, you were about as good as anyone in the country there for that stretch at the end. Like when you were finally back, you were awfully good. I thought you easily could have been the most outstanding player in the CCIW. Certainly, Jonathan Zapinski deserved it. It was awesome, but boy, you were playing great. The Carthage game earlier, that's the one loss. That was one of those games where it just felt to me early in the game. It's like this game doesn't feel great. Like they're making these shots. We just seemed off in some degree. What was your take on the Carthage game, the way it played out? You mentioned earlier it's a tough loss, but to just talk about that one a little bit.
That was right in the middle of our finals week. You could just tell our whole team was just mentally exhausted. There were multiple days that week where our whole team was staying up till 12, 1, 2 in the morning, studying for finals. So you could tell we were kind of mentally out of it. We weren't locked in, ready to go, and they just kind of brought it to us.
They were great. That Riley
Yeah.
Brooks kid, he made every tough turnaround shot in Bloomington Normal that day, and they just were very tough. And on the flip side, the Platteville game, that was game two. I was at that game, and whew, that was something. We looked awesome. Was it a surprise to come out and play? They were number two at the time, and that's a legit ranking. Like I think NPI has them number one right now. But was it a surprise to come out and play that well with sort of a new nucleus in game number two like that?
I wouldn't say it was a surprise. We kind of had an idea of how good we could be, but we also at the same time knew that we had something to prove. And so, I mean, we were locked in, ready to go that game. Um, we had our matchups down. We didn't make many mental mistakes. Yeah, we were ready to go.
I got to ask you about the dunks, Nick. So, are you aware that there's a hashtag D3 dunks? Have you ever
I
seen
am
this?
aware.
So, that
Yep.
was created by the D3 Datacast. It's a genius invention. I think it's a Zack Snyder invention, D3 dunks. You have to be one of the leaders of D3 dunks at this point. How old were you when you first dunked? What
My
grade?
first dunk was probably summer going into my junior year of high school. So I was 16.
Okay, so first dunk. And in terms of your height, you're a freak of nature at 6'8", playing like you're kind of like a two or a three. We'll call you a three. But did you grow a lot late or were you always like super tall?
I hit a growth spurt that summer going into my junior year. I was probably 6'3" my sophomore year of high school, and then I was 6'6" or 6'7" my junior year of high school.
Wow.
It was a crazy growth spurt, yeah.
And when did dunks become part of your hoops game on the court? Like when do you remember like when your first in-game dunk was?
It was my junior year. As soon as I could dunk, I was trying as much as I could.
And I feel like you enjoy it because like you're in attack mode. I feel like right now, if there is any daylight between you and the basket, you're going to dunk it. Is that fair? It looks like that from like 900 miles away on a stream rope. Is that fair assessment?
It's fair. Yep.
Now the Chicago dunk. I've watched this play a lot of games, Nick. I mean, I can't think of a dunk in the 30 whatever years I've been watching. I can't think of one that's better than that. I can think of a few Brian Crabtree dunks where I was like, that's kind of a tie. But I mean, you're coming from the baseline. And when did you realize that you could get all the way under there and dunk it on the other side? Or did this just you didn't think about this and it just happened? Talk me through how this played out.
Yeah, I wasn't honestly thinking dunk it. I was thinking reverse layup, reverse layup. I jumped, I think, from outside the lane on the other side. So I
Yes,
was like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna make it there. I'm thinking reverse layup. I get to the other side of the rim. I'm right there. I was like, oh, may as well try to dunk it.
there's a there's a video. There's a video, a great shot. I think our school took the video, and you could see maybe it's the screenshot that I took. I can't remember, but Marko, you gotta watch Marco's reaction. I think it's Marco. He like sees this and he like turns around and he's talking to the guy next to him, like, what did I just see? Did you know that game that took it from a tie game? I think that tied the game. We were down two at the half. That was the first play of the second half. The game's tied. did you have time to appreciate like, wow, that was a really big dunk I just had, or was it like, okay, I got to get back and play some defense here?
No, no real time to appreciate it. Yeah, I was just get back on defense, get a stop. But after the game, I got a little time to appreciate it. That was cool.
Yeah, that and hey, talk about Hakim's dunk at Stout because as good as yours was, I'm not sure which one was better because I didn't see Hakim's coming. He's like, oh, he's coming around some screen or something, and he's going to lay this up, and all he's almost had like the ball cuffed, and like talk about that one.
That was something else. I always he always gets up near the rim and he wants to do little finger rolls over the front of the rim, and I'm always telling him you got to punch those. And that one he did for sure. I mean, that was out of this world.
It was. I wish I would have been in the gym to see it, but just watching from home, that looked incredible. Just a couple more things, Rope, and I appreciate all your time here during your holiday break. Nick Roper, folks, is averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting 53% from the field on a very deep team. He's the leading scorer on a really good team. Wanted to ask you about the women's team. I'm talking to Sawyer White later today. I've had 3 other of their hoopers on here, and they are good. And I saw that you guys were at their game the other day, which was awesome. What are you seeing out of the women's basketball team? They're 10-0 right now, Rope. Like, what are you seeing out of what's going on there?
They are crazy talented. I don't think they lost a player that played significant minutes
No.
from last year. So I mean, they're returning everybody. They're crazy confident after a good year last year. I mean, they can shoot the heck out of the ball. Their R&J
Ugh.
is fun to watch. Yeah, they're a very skilled team. They're gonna make a deep run this year.
Yeah, they're great. They also come to Texas. They're going to San Antonio to play 2 games at almost the same exact time. You guys are going to be here in Belton, Texas, which is kind of between Waco and Austin. Um, the ceiling for this team, Nick, that's kind of a loaded question. It's because it's abstract and I'm asking you to guess. But like, how do you look at what this team could become if you put it all together, if you play the way you want to play? What are you guys looking forward to the rest of this year, and how good can this team be?
Yeah, we have national championship aspirations, that's for sure. We like to say going into a game, it's Illinois Wesleyan versus Illinois Wesleyan. You know, a team can't really take us out of what we want to do. Only we can take ourselves out of a game. So I mean, if we play up to our potential, I think the sky's the limit.
And I would say there's not a lot of seasons that a team can say that. And I think this is a season a team can say that is, yeah, if you guys play well, it's hard to beat you because there's 5 guys on the floor that you really can't help off of very much. Like if everyone's playing well, everyone's shooting it a little bit. Um, I think what the way you said that is dead accurate. And I think you guys should be thinking that lofty. Final question for you is just a little bit about Division 3. I like to ask all the student athletes I have on here about that because there's people right now there's kids in high school making decisions. There's kids getting recruited all across the nation to Division 3 schools versus Division 2 versus NAI. All those options are great. They're all great. What has been your experience with NCAA Division 3, and I guess what do you appreciate about it?
My experience has been amazing. I would say one of the top things is just the connections you make. You know, I came in my freshman year with this group of seniors, and I mean we have family like ties. It's really cool. We're gonna be friends for the rest of our lives, and we're just a really close group. And then also, you know, like before the WashU game, I got to talk to Hayden Doyle for 5 or 10 minutes, which was really cool. And I feel like that's just stuff you can't do at the Division 1, Division 2 level. We actually might have a golf match this summer that we talked about a little bit. We might need you
I'm
to
in.
oversee that.
I'm in because me and this kid, we've been trying to get some golf going, and I know that you would be in the mix and be good to add to that. Possibly your father, right? We get 2 kids, 2 old guys. We got good teams. I do have a kind of a match against Hayden Doyle. what kind of game are you bringing to the table, Rope? Like, do you have a handy? If you went out today and you played like Prairie Vista in Bloomington, like, what are you shooting?
Well, today I wouldn't shoot great playing a lot of basketball over golf right now.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I'm a 8 to a 10, 12 handicap.
So you can play. I mean, you can
Yeah,
play Rope. That's pretty good.
I got a praying mantis like swing, a lot of
I
long
can,
extension.
I can picture your swing right now. I can kind of
Yeah.
picture it, but 8 to 10 is really good. And I think this Hayden Doyle, like he played in high school. And so I know he's kind of a sandbagger right now because if you play in high school, you're good. And so I may need strokes from him and we'll have to handicap this, but we're going to do this. Like when the season ends, let's get the goal. I'll fly up there and let's do it. Are we in?
Let's make it happen.
I'm totally in. And I appreciate everything you said about D3. I think the perspective, I liked after the game, there's this picture of Ryan Cohen and Josh Fridman and Carlo Kolak. It's like these guys just play this knockdown drag out game that means a lot. And 20 minutes after the game, there's perspective enough that they're getting together to take a picture. And I just some of these little things that add up about Division 3, I think, are the things that separate it, the perspective people have that's maybe different than some of the other levels. Um, really appreciate this, Nick, and you're having a great season. And you really, the way you carry yourself, you're such a great representation as an alum. The reason I do what I do and just supporting the team is because we've always had such great kids like you. And boy, you really are a great player, but more importantly, you're just a great representative of the school. So we're proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm going to give you the last thoughts on the QCast today, Nick. I think you're going to have some MICDS alums tuning in. They're a loyal bunch. Some St. Louis hoop savants will be tuning in. That group supports you. You got D3 Nation, Titan Nation. A lot of people are going to check out these hot takes on the QCast today, Rope. So, what would you leave us with today on the show?
I just want to say what the QCast does is awesome. The exposure that you're giving these Division 3 programs and players like myself is really special. So I just want to thank you for that. But yeah, we have a special team and it's going to be a special year and hopefully we can make some noise on the national level at D3 Datacast.
Yeah, the DataCast guys. Well, they don't think the CCIW is very relevant, so I think it's just our job to keep winning ball games. And maybe this Matt Snyder guy, maybe this guy, he's got some hot takes where maybe the CCIW is not relevant. You just keep winning ball games, Nick, and I'll take care of dealing with that on the internet. Okay,
I
so
got you, Q.
hey, I'm looking forward to seeing the Titans at my house for dinner on the 27th. Now we're catering in some Italian, and you're in St. Louis. You and Harry and Brady Keel, you guys have been to the Hill probably. Have you ever been to
Yeah,
some of these restaurants at the Hill, like Charlie Gito's Rope? Have you had the Italian on the Hill?
I have. It's very good.
So your bar of Italian is way up here. The place I'm catering in is great, but it's not Charlie Gito's. It's not Canetto's. So just roll with it. Enjoy it. We're going to have fun. I'll have a little dinner and send you guys on your way down to Belton, Texas. And I look forward to watching you in person down in Belton Rope. So, hey, proud of you, kid. Keep hooping. Keep dunking. I love being able to throw out the D3 dunks, and we'll see you very soon next week, Nick. Okay.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Nick.